right, on the Mavs front, and I decided to compare them to an obvious team, the Celtics, and that's why I was fascinated by this. Now, Corey, part of the question you asked, and we're going to get to that, but if people want to start weighing in with your opinions, Twitch, YouTube, you can hit us up on the Frankel and Frankel Injury Attorney text line, 877-881-1053. Have the Mavs earn the league's respect? Now, I want to get to that in just a second. But first, top 100 players in the league. So the Ringer kind of does a ever-evolving list of top players in the league, and so they'll do updates throughout the playoffs and everything. And so this is their post-NBA Finals ranking of the top 100 players in the league. How many top 100 players do you think the Mavericks have?
2.
No, I'm going to say 3, maybe 4, but I'm going to go with 3. I think Derek Lively barely makes the top 100.
And I bet PJ probably.
And that's where PJ, I'm wondering with his second half and the playoff run. So I'm leaning towards 3, and PJ just misses it, but I could see 4.
Savvy selection on the Lively front. He is the third Mavericks player on the list at 97.
Okay.
And so they have 3 on the list. Where explain that look to me, Corey.
97?
Yeah.
Well, the look was that means there's not much room for PJ.
He did not. So, he did not make the cut.
So there aren't 4. I was getting ready to go 5, 6. I don't know, Kevin. But wow, 97 for the way he played this year. I would expect a little bit higher, but maybe they're looking at him going, "Hey, give him time; it'll grow into something." And being on the top 100 is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, especially for a rookie.
Yeah.
Okay, where would you put Luka, and where would you put the other 2 players, and who are they?
I'm guessing Luka's one of them.
You don't have to worry. You didn't give anything away.
Okay, Mike's going to be like, hold on, Luka.
Yeah.
I listen, man, Luka's performance.
Jaylen Brown's number 1 because he won the MVP.
He was really good.
Of both the Eastern Conference and the Finals.
I would have Luka 1.
Okay.
I know that you disagree with that because you think Jokic still is.
I would have Jokic 1.
Me too.
Because he did win the MVP.
Yeah. He lost to Anthony Edwards.
It's true.
That's true.
Luka. Then wouldn't you put a Celtic
But then
number 1?
Jaylen Brown would have to be 1 in that category.
That's why Mike went with Jaylen Brown.
This is tough.
I would go. I mean, Luka's right. He should be in the top 3, no matter what.
I am going to move Luka to number 2, and I understand there would be a lot of pushback nationally with that because Giannis has struggled recently in the biggest moments. So if I wanted to go Giannis because of more of a complete player defensively and offensively, I also have to look at the lack of success that Giannis had this year in the regular season and in the postseason and move Luka to number 2 behind Jokic.
By the way, from the 817, that has to be a mistake, right? I did not hear you mention Tim Hardaway Jr. or Dwight Powell. No, you did not.
By the way, I'm assuming that Kyrie is the second one.
That is correct.
And I would have him in the top 25.
Okay.
That's interesting because I was going to think right around 20.
Okay. For Luka, Jokic is number 1, Luka is 2, and Giannis is 3.
Okay.
So it played out like y'all said.
Is Embiid in the top 5?
Embiid is not in the top
injuries,
5.
right?
He's number 6.
Okay.
They put Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 4, and then
great.
Tatum 5.
Dude, Shai was
He's
amazing
awesome.
to watch
I
during
agree.
that playoff.
He was better than I thought. Once you played him in 6 games in the playoffs, I was like, man, they're different players, but I was like, there's not much separation between Luka and Shai, which I thought there was.
There were times, like, I thought you know how Patrick Mahomes was laying down sideways to throw passes in the Super Bowl? There were times where Shai was making shots off balance like that.
He's unbelievable.
How did that happen? And then, the Mavericks were able to overcome it. But he really impressed me a lot.
Here's the top 10 if you want to know, and then I'll give you Kyrie.
Yeah.
And then I'll point out what I really wanted to talk about in here. Jokic is 1, Luka's 2, Giannis is 3, Shai 4, Tatum 5, Embiid 6, Curry 7, Anthony Edwards 8, Kevin Durant 9, and Anthony Davis 10.
Where was Jaylen Brown?
I was like, they did not give him the playoff credit he deserves.
10. Also, no LeBron in the top 10.
LeBron's out of the top 10 now. But he's not out of the top 15, right? He has to be.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. You guys were talking about Kyrie, and y'all were pretty spot on. Kyrie is number 25.
Okay.
So, Mike, you said 20. Corey, you said in the top 25. He's 25.
I could have gone anywhere from 25 to 15.
Okay.
Can you name the 5 guys like 20 through 24?
Yes. Yeah. Let's skip down there just a little bit. I can't remember if I just said this out loud or in my brain. Jaylen Brown is 15, in case you wanted to know.
That's too low.
Jamal Murray is 20.
Okay. Totally get it.
Zion, 21.
Not fair because he
I
doesn't
don't know
play
about
enough.
that. De'Aaron Fox is 22. I think people lose sight of De'Aaron Fox is really good. Paul George is 23, and Bam Adebayo is 24.
Okay.
So, for example, right behind
Yeah.
Kyrie is Domantas Sabonis at 26.
Okay, yeah, they're all like on that. Hey,
I would put him ahead of Zion.
Probably all-star, but you know there could be a guy that takes his spot on an all-star team.
I don't know. I'm probably too much of a Paul George apologist. I know what he does whenever playoff time happens, but I really like the length of the play. I like how he fits in with lots of different teams.
Oh, I get that.
That's one of the reasons I'm always more like I think that Paul George deserves to be above him on that. But that's interesting. The growth and leadership Kyrie showed. I wonder if it's a stay. He's been at 25 this whole time.
I think he has upward mobility, and I think if you would have seen more from him in the finals and maybe the beginning of some of these playoff series, I think he could have been higher. Now, here's what I wanted to talk about. Mavericks and the Celtics, because we all love the season that the Mavericks have. We like the talent that they have as well. How many do you think the Celtics have on this list?
5.
You want to name?
I would probably go.
Drew Holiday's going to be on there.
Yes.
Porzingis is going to be on there. Derek White, I think, deserves to be in that 85 to 100 category. Okay. No, are we not?
Brown and Tatum are obviously on there. So
Horford's their 6th. So
I was going to say Horford.
Do you think Horford's better than Lively?
I don't.
Agreed.
But I think the NBA has a ton of respect for him.
Yeah, I mean, his longevity and what he is like the glue and the gel to a championship team. I'll go with 6. I'll go with they put 6 on there.
Al Horford is number 100 on the list to make 6 Boston Celtics. Okay. And here is where I want to talk about the discrepancy in talent. Although I know it's not only talent that can get you places. Obviously, this group of players meshes incredibly well together. The Mavericks have Luka at 2, and the Celtics have Tatum at 5. So advantage Mavericks, but not as unbelievable as you might think. The last player on the list is Lively at 97 and Horford at 100. All right, so again, pretty close, right? So pretty close for both. Here's the in-between. Kyrie is 25 for the Mavs. Per the Ringer, and you're going to be shocked by one of these, Derek White is 37, Drew Holiday is 38, KP is 42, and Brown is 15. So that's your That's your comparison to Kyrie. Kyrie's 25, and then you get Brown at 15, White at 37, Holiday at 38, and KP at 42. That's a lot of a discrepancy.
Do you think winning the championship up those guys into the top 50?
I do.
Do you think if the Mavs would have, now we know, pulled a major upset, do you think P.J. Washington makes the list if they win the championship?
I mean, if he plays,
because then they're like, you have 4 guys in the top 100. That's why you won.
I think I like Derek White more than you do, but I'm not saying 37 does feel high, but I would have had him at 50.
Okay,
but and maybe I think P.J. Washington would be in the. I also think there could be a consideration for Gafford because of how much they use those, how much people consider those two with him and Lively together.
They don't really care too much about injuries on this list.
Nope.
Because
KP and Zion are.
Yeah, and also kind of Embiid.
Yeah, that's true.
I know he won the MVP a year ago, but I mean, if you're really looking at injury history, you'd be like, I would take 10 players to start a franchise. I would take 10 players over Embiid. I know Embiid is going to be better than about 4 or 5 of those guys. I don't want to build a team around Embiid because I don't believe he's going to be available enough to win. So, but if you take injuries out of the category, then I probably would agree with you. KP's 42, but in injury situation, I'd be like, he didn't even play in the playoffs, and they easily won.
And here's some of the feedback that you get, and I would be inclined to agree with this person from the 636. Luka would be number one if they would have won the finals. I definitely think there's a strong argument to be made right there.
Because what was real quick?
Yeah.
The day after, everything looked like it was all starting to fall apart, Kevin.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw you under the bus here.
Oh, I said,
but you did
I said
come in and you
Jokic
were like,
would never let this happen.
Best player in the world, my
Yes,
ass.
that's true. And that's the way I feel. I think there is a discernible level between Jokic and Luka. I think Luka has a great argument to be the second best player on the planet. This doesn't happen to Jokic. Like, they might lose, but they don't get run like this. And so that's just my opinion. And I hope that me saying Luka can be the second best player in the NBA is an acceptable opinion. That's just my opinion. But yes, he's right. I did say best player in the NBA, my ass.
To your point, the one thing that separates those two tremendously is Jokic doesn't get rattled by exterior things he can't control. He does not let a referee
so this must have
quit.
been after Game 3. I was pretty mad after Game 3.
Right, because Luka decided the refereeing was more important than the basketball game. And he's done that a lot in his career, which Jokic, I'm sure if you follow every Denver game, I'm sure it's happened to him a few times. But it's like for every 10 times it happens to Luka, it happens once to Jokic.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest difference right there. But and a lot of people are involved in this conversation, and I really...
Can I ask another question? Where was Wemby on this list already?
Where do you think he was?
If you have Derek White at 37, he's over Derek White.
Yep.
So I will go where Kyrie was, and you didn't name him. Okay, I'm going to go too high because I think they're going to look at the expectation of him, and I'll go 18.
17.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if that carried over here. There was an audible gasp.
I don't know if I'd have him in the top 20 after year 1, but I do think he's going to be in the top 20 after year 2.
Yeah.
So I totally get they're kind of giving a little bit. It's kind of like when Shaq made the all 50-year team. He's played like 3 years in the NBA. Like, we don't care. We know he's going to be a top 50 player. We're doing it now. We're not going to screw him off of this list because he only has 3 or 4 years of being dominant in this league. So I totally get where they have Wemby after year 1 because he has to be the only player in the top 20 that their team didn't even win 20 games or barely won 20 games.
Now,
as the best player.
Let me double check, but I think you're right about that. Somebody asked this, where is Brunson on this list?
Jalen Brunson?
Yes, Jalen Brunson.
He should
y'all's reaction to this is going to be
14.
fascinating.
32.
Okay, he is number 11. And so here's the thing about that. I want to compare him to one other player specifically. Do you think Jalen Brunson is better than Jaylen Brown?
No.
And I would be inclined to agree with you there. I would probably swap those two.
Defensively, Jaylen Brown, I mean, he just proved it against one of the best offensive players in the game.
Offensively, Brunson's better.
Yeah.
That's why I struggle with the Giannis Luka at 2 is I'm like, Giannis can shut down another team at times because of his defense. Luka can't do that at all, but Luka's offensive game is superior to Giannis's offensive game.
That being said, Jaylen Brown doesn't carry as much of a load as Brunson does. Brunson carries that team.
That is very true, which has necessitated some of the moves that obviously the Knicks have made in like the last 48 hours. But the big thing that y'all see that I know you guys already knew this, but I just wanted to point out for people, when we just talk about the talent difference, you've got Lively and Horford. Like, I like Lively better, but I think you can live with them in a similar category. I also think Luka is better than Jason Tatum by a good little bit. But in between that, you have Kyrie versus Brown, White, Holiday, KP. Like, damn. Now, when you look at it like that, you're like, I get why.
We lost? Yeah.
And I agree with that. I just don't know if you're leading, and I don't know if you are or not, if you're leading towards the Mavs have to get another player in the top 50. I do think Lively can enter that category. I don't know if in year 2 he can, but he can get to that category. But if you're like this offseason, you need to get a Boston Celtics kind of roster. I don't think it's possible.
I think you're right about that. But then I started to think about and I know like some of these specific players aren't available, but like maybe you're looking in the category of Naz Reid or Colin Sexton.
Naz Reid to the
yes,
team?
I know. Or Colin Sexton or Nick Claxton or something like that. Maybe that's the level of player, and it's a little bit higher than I thought I wanted the Mavericks to get. Like, look, if the Mavericks, like we talked about, you bring back Derrick Jones, you figure it out. Like, I'm going to feel great about this team going into next year. But perhaps if we all know what the end goal is, maybe they do need a little bit of a talent upgrade more than I thought. Not a massive one, but a little bit more. All right,
well,
Corey.
Kevin, the Rangers just taught us, don't take what your championship team was and just try and roll it into next season.
Corey, that's a great point. I'm really tired of you guys ending these chunks of segments with sad news for me to consider.